So today, I applaud China for stepping up. Excuse me, I applaud Canada. You can tell what I'm thinking.
Mr. President, here Polyev, leader of His Majesty's loyal opposition. Absolutely. We believe that opposition is an act of loyalty in our system. We do too, unfortunately.
What a real pleasure it is to welcome President Biden to Ottawa, back to Ottawa. It's so great to see you, Joe. Obviously, we've been working closely together over the past few years on how to build strong economies for everyone in our two countries and around the world, how to continue our fight against climate change and prepare a stronger economic future for everyone, but also how we deal with changing.
About the bill President Biden signed yesterday, he says he will declassify COVID origins intel except info that would harm national security. Is there a bigger national security threat than something that killed 1.1 million people?
Yeah,
in this country?
I've seen some of the commentary on your network about this. The president obviously has to balance transparency with national security, Peter. Of course he does.
And where is it?
Hey, let me finish my answer.
If we're talking about the beginning of
added the
his
Department
term.
of Energy and the national labs, told them to keep studying it. We have kept Congress informed. Some of that has to be.
And does the White House hope that the lab leak theory is not true?
We don't have a hope one way or the other, Peter. What we want is the ground truth, wherever that takes us, wherever the science takes you, wherever the facts takes you.
In the words of a Canadian poet, Lieutenant Colonel John McCree, still call to us from Flanders Field, echoing their charge through the ages. And I quote it: "To you from failing hands, we throw the torch. To you to hold it high."
As I usually do, it's a combination of bringing in experts and reading a lot of briefing documents and thinking about the future and what that will look like in terms of the relationship between the United States and the continent of Africa. And I am very optimistic about what the partnership will produce.
The president considers Vladimir Putin to be a war criminal. I'm just wondering what it means to President Biden that Putin calls Xi Jinping a friend.
I don't think we're overly exercised about that comment. I mean, it wasn't that long ago, MJ, where they were talking about a relationship without limits, right? Partnership without limits. So we're not going to get all hot and bothered about the use of friends. What we've seen is these are two countries that are growing closer together, that see in each other useful purposes for pushing.
The Federal Reserve Chairman said today that inflation is still too high. Does the president agree?
Look, the president has always said that he's going to do everything that he can to make sure that we work every day to lower costs. And that's why the Inflation Reduction Act is so important.
Given all of that, the price of goods is still high. Americans are paying about $372 more a month, according to one estimate, than they were a year ago. What does the president say to Americans who everything that you say is happening on paper for them, paying that amount of money a month is still a lot?
And we say, and we've been saying, we understand what the American people is feeling. That's not lost on us. And this is why we've made the contrast with what Republicans are trying to do. You see Republicans in the House saying that they want to lower Medicare. They want to repeal Inflation Reduction Act. Go ahead, Peter.
Thank you, Karine. House Oversight says they've got bank records showing a Chinese energy company paying 3 Biden family members through a third party. What were they paid for?
Look, I'm just not going to respond to that from here. Look, we have heard from House Republicans for years and years and years how the inaccuracies and lies when it comes to this issue. And I don't even know where to begin to even answer that question because, again, it's been lies and lies and inaccuracy for the past couple of years, and I'm just not going to get into it from here.
So Texas Governor Greg Abbott has installed more than 130 miles of razor wire on federal land in the Rio Grande Canal. Abbott didn't seek the required permits to do this and has doubled down on yesterday on Twitter saying that they are not going to ask permission to do this. Does the administration plan to sue Texas like they did in Arizona over former Governor Doug Ducey's makeshift border barrier?
On the governor in Texas, this is another political stunt that we've seen from him over and over again. Instead of dealing with an issue in a way that can actually have results, he continues to have do these political stunts, and it's unfortunate because what it's going to do is actually hurt the communities that he is supposed to represent. And this is a president that has, when it comes to working to secure the border, dealing with a real issue, he's taken action. He's catched record levels of fentanyl, work that he's done because of the record levels of funding. We support 23,000 agents, the most ever, working to secure the border.
Real quick on Phil Washington, the administration's nominee for the FAA. The Senate Commerce Committee abruptly delayed his committee vote. This comes nearly 8 months after Phil Washington was initially nominated. The FAA has now been without a permanent director for nearly a year amid a lot of turmoil in the aviation industry. And so I guess I'm wondering why the administration is so intent on digging in on a nominee who, after 8 months of being nominated, still doesn't seem to have convinced senators that he deserves this position.
So look, we think he has the qualification. When I say we, I mean Phil Washington. He has the qualifications and the experience for this role. The president believes that, and that's what our administration believes as well. He has led the Denver International Airport, one of the busiest airport in the world, managed large transportation safety organization, and served as a command sergeant major in the military. This is a role with a key safety mandate, and that's what we believe. We believe that he is experienced for this role. I'll say one more thing. We're going to continue to urge Senate to move swiftly on his confirmation, and we heard today from Senator Cantwell herself has made clear that Phil Washington's nomination will receive full consideration from the committee, and that's coming from the senator herself. Okay, Nadine.
Totally different topic. Does President Biden believe that it is appropriate for a person who is indicted to run for office?
So, nice way to ask, MJ. Very clever. Because we are covered by the Hatch Act, so I'm not going to speak to politics, and I'm just going to leave it.
My second question. I want to draw on your long experience in the Navy and in the national security apparatus. You've served, I don't know how many administrations. How many administrations?
Well, over the course of my entire Navy career? Oh gosh, I don't know, 6 or 7 probably.
So I wonder if you could share with us any observations you might have as to the current Commander-in-Chief, and whether you observe anything distinct or unique about how he approaches the central business of the presidency, which is decision-making.
Well, James, I don't know that that's a fair question for me. I'm just a guy talking for the NSC up here. But look, I didn't know the president before I took this job, but I've since got a chance to get to know him, and I'll tell you, his fine feel and touch, particularly on issues of foreign policy and national security, is very, very distinct. And he asks great questions.